Donald Trump doesn't want to drive housing prices down. Hey, it's Chris Volpe again, running for JD Vance's Senate seat here in Ohio. I got a little quote that came out yesterday. Here's the full quote for context so we can take it. Existing housing, this is from Trump. Existing housing, people that own their homes, we're going to keep them wealthy. We're going to keep those prices up. We're not going to destroy the value of their homes so that somebody who didn't work very hard can buy a home. Put a little note on that one. We're going to make it easier to buy. We're going to get interest rates down. But I want to protect the people that, for the first time in their lives, feel good about themselves. They feel they're wealthy people, and I want them to understand it. You know, there's so much to talk about. Oh, we're going to drive housing prices down. I don't want to drive housing prices down. I want to drive housing prices up for people that own their homes, and they can be assured that's what's going to happen. So here we are. There's a couple of little interesting tidbits of information in there. But one of the things that I want to just start by saying is when folks like me are talking about all of these sort of like negative things that we worry about with Donald Trump, it's not because we're these crazy idiot fools. It's not because we want these things to happen. It's because we pay attention to what Donald Trump says and does. And so, excuse me, when he talks about making housing more affordable, he's not talking about pricing. He's talking about creating these like 50-year mortgages and these other nonsense things that will supposedly let people buy homes. He talks about lowering the interest rates. Okay, well, we can lower the interest rates, and that's fine. I'm going to look up real fast what the current mortgage rate is, if I could spell properly here. Let's look it up just in Ohio. So current 30-year fixed mortgage rates are 5.75 to 6.25% for, decently qualified buyers, right? That's a perfectly reasonable amount. If you want to start like lowering it, okay, we can get it down, what, 4.5%? Maybe even down to 3%, but you can't go much lower than that. Like at some point, the mortgage rates that the banks are going to provide, and obviously you can get government backed, and that's a whole other thing we can talk about. But the point is, we don't have a lot of space to go. Now, over the course of 30 years, 1, 2, 3%, that's a big deal. Don't get me wrong. But the fact is, we're not going from like 20% down to 5%. We're talking about going 5.5%, 6% down to maybe 4.5%. Maybe in a crazy world, we can get down to like 3%. Probably not going to be happening in the near future here. But also keep in mind, when we adjust those rates, that also adjusts all of the savings rates, all of the potential bond and treasury rates. Like there's a cascading effect. So lowering the rates to purchase homes is also going to have a potentially deleterious effect on those who are saving and investing for retirement in the future. These are all locked together, right? Pardon me. I don't know. I got this cough I just can't get rid of from the flu, but that's neither here nor there. But the fact remains that Trump's not interested in lowering these rates. I also like a couple quick things. We're not going to destroy the value of their homes. Nobody wants to destroy the value of your home. That's not what we're advocating for. What we're trying to do is get home rates under a reasonable set of control. And because the conditions that have been going on for the past 5 years are just, the housing rates are just ludicrous. And so, of course, anybody that already owns a home is going to benefit from that. But the rest of the people who don't own homes don't. And there is a very clear age divide going on right now. And that's one of the key problems when we talk about all of these changes that we want to implement for citizens. It's because there is a group of folks, generally in the baby boomer generation, a little bit in the maybe older Gen X generation, that have benefited from all of these government policies during their adult lifetime. And those policies and those benefits don't exist for younger folks like millennials, Gen Z, and at this point, I mean, Gen Alpha, who knows, right? So there's one point, the destroying home values, that's the thing. But the other thing is here, this little comment here about, where is it? We're going to make it easier. I don't want to drive housing down. I want to drive housing prices up. Where is the line here? Sorry. There we go. It's part of the destroy. Sorry. We're not going to destroy the value of their home so that somebody who didn't work very hard can buy a home. This right there, I think, really, since there is this mentality that exists in many places in the right now, definitely within sort of the Trumposphere and MAGA world, that hard work is directly correlated to success, and it's just not. There are plenty of very poor people that work their ass off and are putting in more hours than just about anybody else, and they're not seeing success from it. This idea that hard work guarantees success is false. It's always been false. Now, to have huge amounts of success, yeah, you generally have to work pretty hard. Nobody is doubting that. But all of the people that are going through their trade schools are working hard. Most people that go through college are working very hard. Most people that are in the sort of bottom to mid range income wise are generally working very hard. This idea that everybody's just sitting around on their ass not doing anything is ridiculous. None of the research shows it. None of the statistics show it. And in fact, I'll make the argument, you can look up millennials for example. Millennials have had to work harder just to achieve the same and oftentimes less amount of success than their parents did. Their parents being usually baby boomers. So you look at something like high school. Millennials have a better high school graduation rate, a better college graduation rate. They also have higher hours of working during those periods, higher rates of volunteerism, higher rates of military involvement, higher rates of extracurricular activities while they're in school. So the amount of work needed to just sustain what would have been a kind of standard of living for older generations is just remarkable. So this whole thing is a hot mess, but it's exactly what we predicted. And again, folks like me are not saying these things about Trump and the administration because we want him to fail. We're not saying it because we want these things to come to fruition. There's no Trump derangement syndrome. We are saying these things because of what he says and what he does. We are clearly watching the results of his actions. The dollar is at one of the largest devaluations that it's been, I think, in over a decade. There was a really, maybe I'll do another video about it later on, but there was just here, let me pull it up. Yeah, this might make an interesting video, but there was just an analysis of other countries' views on reputations for 20. So this is in 2025. America fell from 30th place to 48th in the world. Countries do not trust America. We are seeing this cascade of really, really problematic economic results. I mean, Bitcoin, which, you can take Bitcoin for whatever you want, just had a major crash this week. It's down to about 83,000 per Bitcoin from a high of, I think it was a little over 115,000. And man, like, I'm not against these alternative currencies in sort of idea. I have invested in Bitcoins and other of these cryptos as well, like Ethereum and Litecoin and stuff like that. But we are seeing a clear trend going on right now. And anybody who is following and paying attention to the economy, particularly if you're a younger individual, like me, I'm 44 and younger, like, we're eyeing this because this is our future. And right now, we just do not see a path forward. So anyway, you can look at this quote about housing and check it out. Really appreciate you watching. And if, as always, if there's anything that I can do for you, don't be afraid to post in the comments. Happy to have a chat with you, but take care. I'll see you in the next video.